Okay, well, I mute my music. Oh, you didn't cue it. Oh, okay. Oh, you had to cue it. Okay, hey, this is Al Laws back for the part 2, Advice for Life. I'm your host, and I have with me my lovely wife of 23 years, Aisha Laws.
Hello.
And trust me, we call her the sweeper. She will make sure that she's going to bring some insight. She's going to kick some insight and knowledge for you. To my Facebook family, we had a lot of people joining us, making comments. I already see some of my folks coming back. And so we're giving them a few seconds to come back on. But again, we've been talking about how men and women should show up in relationship. And we've been focused on now. We've been talking to one of our callers, wonderful, beautiful sister, Lisa. And we've been talking to her about her relationship with her husband and the issues that they had specifically around how he responded when she confronted him with cheating. And so, and we dealt with a lot more other things, and Lisa did a great job in that. So what we're going to do, if you don't know, we are going to do the second part of our radio broadcast. So you'll bear with us for a moment. We'll play our introduction. We'll go into our radio show, and then we'll bring, after me and Greg dialogue for a minute, we'll bring Lisa on. So just bear with us. And remember, at the end of this program, we will take your questions. We want your comments. We really want your interaction. This is like a live audience as we talk about these issues. So we look forward to your interaction. Please. Some people told me that I was there live with you. I said, look, just hit comments. You can put a comment in. You can participate. If nothing else, just let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're with us. Even if you have to check in and check out and look at us later, look, just let us know that you touched base and you landed on the program. So we're going to start our second half now. Go.
And we are back, and we are having a fabulous time here with Al and Aisha as we're just vibing and exchange and sharing about our discussion with Lisa.
Yes.
But first of all, to our listening audience, call in. We want to get your story. We want to get your comments. Call us at 410-578-8004. Leave a message and we will get back to you. Also, check out our website at www.advice4life.us. Click on the podcast tab and you can see our library of shows, and you can select and choose from that which is going to best benefit and help you. And then with our Facebook Live family, join in and become a part. Check in with us. You can log in and you want to select Al Laws Jr. that way, and you want to allow yourself to be notified by the broadcast. And as we stream live on Tuesday evenings at 8:30, you can be a part. You can share a comment and be blessed. Right, Al?
Yeah, absolutely. And ask your questions.
Yes.
And all those things. So I really appreciate our conversation about the mask. I think we need to continue to kind of do some more with that, because it really is interesting that we can be in certain states, that people can have gotten educations and known people for a long time in their life. People can go to Bible study, all these things that they do, but yet they can't not manifest. They cannot pierce the veil of the mask that may be in their life. And we need each other. It takes two people to do that. We need each other to show our process and to be skillful in how we respond to people. And that's why we learn these skills from Advice for Life and Family Strengthening, because it helps us take off those masks so we can see ourselves. And one thing that I've loved about my wife for these 23 years is that she is consistent. Like some people, every time you get into different situations, they have a different mask. So they show up as a different person each place that they're in. So they may be different over here.
Chameleon.
They go over here, they're a chameleon.
Right.
But my wife has been consistent. She's been the same person. I'm not saying she hasn't had some mask that she has to take off. She have to go deeper into herself.
Right.
However, I'm telling you, she shows up as the same person willing to work.
Right.
I think that's important when someone confronts you and says, look, this little piece right here has to change.
Right.
That you have the emotional and spiritual strength and depth to go in and change.
Yes.
And work to make certain that your mask is becoming clearer.
Right.
Your mask is becoming clearer
until
you can
it dissolves
be seen.
off.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's get it clear first.
Like
at
a
least.
soft shell crab.
Right. Let's get it clear first, and then it can dissolve. So we have been doing this, and we have been having an exchange with Lisa, and so I want to bring Lisa back on. Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. I hope you were listening as I was talking about how much we appreciate your willingness to go deep, to challenge yourself, and to be able to look past and extract preciousness from worthless situations you've been in. I think it really shows a lot about who you are. And so the last time that we took off, you were beginning to tell us the last part of your journey, and I know you had that encounter where you had a physical altercation. Actually, you were assaulted by your husband because you confronted him about cheating. Actually, you didn't get a chance to confront him. You just brought it up as a subject matter.
Right.
And it came up. And so you told us about that whole experience, but I know you had time to think about it. Can you tell us some more about what you want to share with us around that?
Yes, sir. So where we left off was the assault after the Bible study.
Right.
And it was just an assumption, and he lashed out and he punched me on the side of my face. And I went to talk to the police, and they told me I should get a protective order. So I got a temporary protective order granted that same night.
Right.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on.
So you told me you got a temporary order, and that you actually started. And the reason why you didn't actually execute it is because you were thinking about going through counseling, and that's where we kind of left off, that you were talking about that counseling.
Right. I'm sorry. I was actually, guys, hold on a second, because one of my sons was coming up towards me. So, so yes, sir. So, the following day, he had came to the apartment. He still had a key, and he bought chocolates and I think it was a watch and a card or something like that. And he was very apologetic, and he suggested counseling. Okay. And I had agreed for about 3 or 4 weeks or so. He was like, "Yeah, I'm going to leave the apartment, and I'm going to come back home." And I found out the next day. I found out it was going to be about $3,000 for me to break the lease, and I don't know, but I think you should come and take a look at the place. And I wouldn't go. I said, "No, I don't want to go. You left. I need you to make this right. You want to go to counseling? I agreed to do that, but you need to make this right."
Sure.
So I gave it time. I gave it about 3 weeks or so. Mm-hmm. And when I realized that he was not going to actually leave, I decided to leave the apartment where we were staying.
Okay.
And I explained to him why, and he didn't agree with it or whatever, but he said he understood, and I told him that the lease was for about 6 months. So the plan was for us to go through counseling, and after 6 months, reunite.
Okay.
So let's fast forward. We've been going through counseling, not very effective. He didn't really want to do all the assignments. He felt very uncomfortable with looking at some of the things, that they were saying to him he needed to really look at. And I had to look at some things on my end. We both had to look at some things. Right.
So what I like is that you guys had a plan.
Right.
And I saw that what you were trying to do is you were trying to put yourself in a safe situation because you didn't feel safe. That's what I'm picking up.
Correct.
You didn't feel safe. So that was your reason. It makes sense that you didn't feel safe.
Absolutely.
And in fact, I would always encourage that there has to be a separation until there's some clear ground rules and some clear notice of accountability, because the bottom line is that you cannot just play with that. Okay.
Well, Elisa, I've had a personal experience with domestic violence myself, and what my
not by me,
no, another, and what my experience shared with me that I want to give to you is that it's progressive. First, it's a shove, then maybe a smack or a headbutt, and then it's a full-blown punch.
Right.
It's progressive. It grows, and without true counseling and separation, I don't see how you would be safe.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I heard you saying that you guys both were trying to work on yourself and you were trying to work on each other. So I just want to stop there for a minute because I want you to tell me what work you were doing. Tell me the work that you saw. What were the things that you recognized that you had to look at in that situation?
Well, the counselors, and there were two sets, and I think I mentioned before, the first couple wouldn't continue with the counseling because they said that he really needed to surrender his heart, to the Lord, and until then, it wasn't much they felt that they could do. So the second couple, they were also, Christians, and they had suggested that we hear each other better, and that we practice. For him, they wanted him to practice using kind words. Okay. And that was the same thing on my end. We needed to practice looking at the good in one another and jotting down what, each person is saying that they need from the other person. Okay. So he had. So let me stop you there because that's very important for us to get. I love that advice. If you listen to what I talk about all the time, is that you have to start out by looking and finding good. So although you may have difficulty in your communication in the moment, you have to extract preciousness from whatever may seem worthless to you. You have to find good. And so the other part that I really, really liked is that they were telling you to communicate and hear one another. And so on Advice for Life, if you really listen, we're talking about how you hear. And one of the ways that you can hear the other person is that you have to be willing to, several ways you can do it. When the person is speaking, you have to shut down what you want to say, right? So our natural tendency is when somebody else is trying to share and speak, we already have an answer in the back of our mind. We already know what we're going to say. And you can tell because when the person is not even finished yet, you already jumped in and you started saying something and they haven't even finished their thought. I do that to my wife all the time. so I do it all the time. And I teach people this all the time. So it is hard work to do. But I have to catch myself, and when I catch myself, she's very skilled because she'll reflect back. She'll just say something simple like, "I wasn't quite finished yet, sweetie." So if I am willing to be open to really hearing her, then I'll take that hint that she wasn't finished. That's because she couldn't finish because you were already talking before she got finished. So what I'm saying is that when somebody is sharing, the way that you know that you're listening is that when they share, you have shut down and push back the stuff that you want to say, and then you then focus on saying back to them what you hear them saying. Absolutely. So if the person is talking and they're giving you information, then you're saying back exactly what you think you hear them saying, and you give them a chance to affirm whether that's what they're saying. Now, the person on the other side has to be careful because sometimes the person will repeat the same thing over and over again, and they won't just say, yes, that's what I'm saying. They'll say it again like the person didn't hear them. Right. So you got to be careful that you don't just keep repeating yourself over and over again. That way you're just going to get in a circle.
That's a defense mechanism, that repeat mode. That's just so I can keep talking so I don't have to hear what you have to say. Wow. that's mental mismanagement. Yes. So I'm going to continue to talk. So I know you have something to say, but I'm going to continue to talk. So you can't talk to me and challenge me to change. And then you run out of time.
Right. And I want to keep it. I want to make sure you know that, it's you that need to hear me. Right. I'm going to run out of time so I don't have to hear you.
Right. I'm good. I'm good. You the one need to change.
You the one that need to change. Right. So yeah, it's very important that we get to that place that we are willing to hear one another, that we can say back what we hear, that we can push down what we want to say, because it's more important, as the Bible says, it's more important for us to actually be, what it says is that we should be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. And so I'm going to cut there, Galen, and we're going to start back up. Okay. So Lisa, we really, really, really appreciate in this process, because I just want you to know, I keep interrupting you to a certain degree, but I need to connect what you're saying with everybody so they can kind of hear, what advice for life, what the family strengthening skills, how they're applied in their life. Okay. So I'm really appreciating. So now you told me, what I hear you saying is that you told me that you were in this counseling session, you were given some advice, and what happened from there?
Okay. I noticed, for me, it bothered me when he would not do the assignments.
Okay.
I felt like, and then too, there was a fee associated, of course, with the counseling session. And I think the last couple of times he was short. I didn't like that either, because it just made me feel
we never like when people are short.
And I had,
my wife don't like being short, Lisa. She's actually a short person, and she hates short.
Right, I'm telling you, because I had to put up the rest of it. He would say, "Oh, just go ahead and put up the rest. I got you." He never paid me back. So that really bothered me. It made me feel like he wasn't taking everything seriously. So
Right.
I pulled away from it. It was mutual. I mean, we had a conversation, and we also spoke with the couple, and he expressed to them that he needed to get some things in order first before he would come back. And I just felt when he started talking that way, I agree. I felt the same way, that we weren't really getting much out of it because he didn't seem interested in doing the assignment.
Right.
For whatever reason. But I noticed shortly after that too, he became more disconnected. In my lease, it was only 6 months, so we're getting closer and closer. Oh, I also found out that I was pregnant. I think I had mentioned
you did that. You told us that you.
And that's why. Yeah, that's why I didn't follow through with the protective order. So that was dropped. I agreed to counseling, and so we get closer and closer. I wound up going to Baltimore and seeing the place, and he came up with a living arrangement agreement on top of the lease agreement.
Right.
And that also bothered me. It was almost like I felt like I was his roommate of some sort. There were a lot of do's, a lot of don'ts.
Right. So it sounds like like, Lisa, that you guys and I'm trying to condense what you have so I can give you. I want you to I want to always leave you with something. So it sounds like that you guys were in this process. So I'm clear. The process you were in, he began to fade off. And he was coming up with these different things that really did not settle right with you. And they were giving you indications that if he wasn't finishing the assignment, he wasn't really committed and he wasn't completely heartfelt about making this thing right. And when he gave you that agreement, he wasn't really heartfelt, or he was using something to distract from the fact that, he really wanted to do the work. He wasn't showing up to do the work. So that makes sense. And that happens when you're in relationship, when you're in a separation mode. Both people are really, really tender and vulnerable in that moment. And it's very difficult because although you're trying to work it out, if you do not have the right skills and the right skill set to really hear one another, and to really, like, when he, let me give you an example. When he gave you that agreement that made you feel like you were a roommate, how did it make you feel?
One word.
It made me feel like so, I didn't feel like his wife.
Okay, that's actually your thought. So whenever you say, I feel like, so I get that. Your thought was, it did not make me feel like his wife. So whenever you have several words that are following each other, that's your thought. And it's an important thought for you to have. So I want you to give me one word that tells me how you felt when he gave you that paper and asking you to sign with these do's and don'ts. Give me one word of how it made you feel.
I felt angry.
Angry. Okay, so that's that one always drives up to the surface. Anger. Can you go a little deeper with me, Lisa? Tell me another word that you felt when he was giving you a piece of paper after all y'all have gone through and giving you these things of right and wrong, do's and don'ts. How did it make you feel?
I felt insignificant.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow.
That was another level.
Right. So everybody felt that, Lisa.
Yeah.
You felt insignificant. So if you felt insignificant, then what I teach people to do is that when you get and tap into your feeling, you say that to the person. Because what'll happen is that you might start talking about, I don't feel like I'm your wife. And I feel like this is messed up and what you're doing, I don't really see. So you go into this explanation about your thoughts. And I'm not saying you don't eventually get there, but I guarantee you it's much more impactful. And the person is able to see and understand where you're coming from and where you really are. When you say, when you bringing this paper to me with these do's and don'ts makes me feel insignificant. Mm-hmm. And that will ring, and that will cause a person to it will reflect on the person's actions to you at a level that your words and the multitude of your words can't really communicate. You see what I'm saying in that?
Yes.
So it's very important that whatever you're doing when you're trying to reconcile, that you have to have counseling that's going to help you learn a process to be able to look at both your process and communicate with skillfulness so that you're able to get to the root of what's going on. And that's what we're really talking about. And we've been talking about, Lisa, as you know, taking off the mask and trying to make sure that we go deeper and remove those things, that we show up authentic with people. And the way you can show up authentic is to really share your thoughts and the feelings appropriately. And especially most people don't get to their feeling level because they haven't learned to just stop and rest and trust what their feelings are.
Not feeling significant. Feeling insignificant is a very, very powerful thing. When you shared that, like, broke my heart, Lisa, because you've already experienced abuse. So then that makes you feel insignificant as well when someone's throwing you out of the car and hitting you, makes you feel unimportant. And here it is again, showing up after he's already apologized and he's not doing his homework and he's not showing you what you need to see to identify that he's truly working at gaining your trust back.
Right.
So that was very powerful when you shared that.
And how can two walk together unless they agree?
Absolutely.
So I'm always saying that, and when I talk to people, I'm always asking, are you guys willing to go through counseling? Are you willing to do the work necessary to bring reconciliation? You cannot reconcile with somebody who's not willing to reconcile.
Right.
And I know several situations that I'm personally familiar with where if one person is committed to wanting to work it out and to go through counseling, and the other person is refusing. Now I'm gonna get it again because I'm gonna talk about my brothers, men, again, and I'm not saying it's just men. It's not saying it's just men. So don't hear that, because I know females probably do this too. But my experience, is in all these 25 years that I've been doing this work, that I more often see that men are not willing to be vulnerable and to go through the counseling process. Women are usually willing to show up and go through and to do the work. And a lot of times men will not show up. And even if they say they're going to show up, they play with it. And really, because they know that they're going to be vulnerable. And they'll use excuses like, well, I don't like talking about my feelings with strangers. Like, I don't know them people.
Right.
Well, of course, you may not know them, but you can get to know them. It's like you going to the hospital and said, I'm not letting none of these doctors operate on me because I don't know them.
Right. That's crazy.
Well, of course you don't know them, but you trust their skill. You trust them as a professional. So, you'll hear those excuses. You'll hear things like, we tried this once before, so what? Right. So if you're committed to doing it, you still can go forth and do it another time.
Right. Now this, okay, Al, I share some odd things here on Advice for Life, but I saw something over the weekend that you may have an interest in. It was talking about G-forces, G-forces in, going in outer space and things like that, and how they're looking at women doing these flights because women have a greater threshold of pain.
Yes, absolutely.
And G-force. So you understand. So you understand G-forces. Right. So they say the average is like 5 or 6 Gs or something like that. But 7, 8, and 9, women are able to deal with that. So what just came to me
well, if you
is that
have a baby, Greg, you can do. That's a lot of G's if you have a baby. Trust me.
Right. It's okay. Right. So I'm agreeing. So I'm thinking maybe there's a connection here. We have a lesser threshold of pain than women. If we had relationship wise the amount of pain that you all that gets put on you all, we would go bananas.
Right. And because in our society there has not been a challenge for men to have to show up emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're challenged to show up in all these other areas, but they're not challenged, and a lot of men won't challenge each other about it. In fact, talking about emotions and really forcing people to say what their feelings are, that makes them feel like they're lesser of a man.
Wow.
Because they don't do that. So they've been kind of trained that way. Like I've always said this, when a man that does not know how to cry and emote and cry because of his emotions, he's insecure in who he is.
Wow.
Where the opposite is true of what is taught to men normally. I'm just going to say it as bold as I can. Men are usually taught not to cry. Because you cry and you're less of a man. No. If you can cry, now I'm not saying you cry over everything that happens.
The Ravens lost.
right.
That's a reason to cry, though.
That is a reason to cry. But I'm saying when it's appropriate and it has something to do with something that moves you, that you're becoming in touch, because when you really get in touch with your feelings, when something touches you deeply, you are going to move and you are going to cry. And God gave both men and women tear ducts so that water would come out of those tear ducts so that you would cry. So it is absolutely a lie for men to believe that they shouldn't cry. I think it shows that you're insecure. You don't really know who you are, and you're covering up. You're trying to use bravado and toughness and I'm bad as a way of not really dealing with who you are and dealing with your heart on the inside.
Absolutely. I believe that men, a lot of times I see it where if a man hurts his wife, like not necessarily just physically hurts her, but wounds her emotionally or whatever, a lot of times it's harder for them to not just apologize, but to heal. To heal, you have to go in.
Right.
To heal, you have to go
in.
You got to do the work.
Right.
And a lot of times I've seen people throw away the relationships and just start fresh with someone else.
Right.
So they don't have to go in and heal.
That's exactly right.
Make it easier for them to just start fresh. I'm going to try not to mess this one up so I don't have to heal here too.
Right.
Just throw her away and I'll get a new chick.
They got a whole line of unhealed
Absolutely.
situations.
Leaving a whole lot of wounds in their wake.
Right.
Instead of growing up and learning how to heal.
It's like the kid on Christmas who opens up a package halfway and puts it aside and goes to the next package, and they all excited. And so they have all these lines of packages that are unopened, all these precious gifts that God has given, and they haven't really finished their work by opening that package and finishing and enjoying what they have. Right. So I think, Lisa, I just really, this conversation is really about helping you. I really want you to get something from it. And what was really powerful is that Greg let me know that your husband also contacted us and said that he was willing to talk as well. So he wants to also, it sounds like he's willing to have his process and look at his process in this dynamic. Were you're aware of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are you okay with that? Are you okay with, as we go through this process, that we include your husband and help him see his process, help him process his thoughts and feelings so that we can look at this on both sides?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is, I know we keep bringing you back, but we're going to stay with you. But I'm hoping, Lisa, tell me, did you get something out of this, and tell me what you've learned so far?
The importance of being vulnerable from the very beginning.
Okay.
I think that's a good point you guys made about the mask. and not just one mask, but 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And people are more like onions,
Right.
and with layers of masks, and it's not easy to get to that core. And that it just takes patience and due diligence, and sometimes you may never get to the core. And I think that's the hardest part. I think that's something that I realized with my situation. You know, you may not be that person to make, that the other individual comfortable enough to expose their core, no matter what you do.
Right. Now, that's interesting that you said that helping that person and being the person to help that person expose their core. But that's the nature of relationship, and definitely the nature of marriage. I mean, if you're going to marry somebody, you need to make sure that you guys can go to the root, you can go to the core with each other. And that's why when people do these little surface things, I'm telling you, when you're going to get married to somebody, you need to go deep. And I always recommend that you do counseling before you get married. And that hopefully that counselor is willing to force you and push you to go deep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And challenge you about how you are able to receive from one another, because you can't receive from the person if you can't grow from that person. Actually, most of your growth is going to come through your marriage relationship. So
that's right.
So when you're close to somebody, or even if you're not married, even if you're in any kind of relationship, you're going to grow in those relationships. So we're going to bring you back again, Lisa. I just want to say to my give time for my Facebook Live family. You guys have been patient. Thank you. I just want to get some feedback from you. Yes, Greg.
Yeah.
Show your face.
Right. We have, as we go along this way, what we find out is that our Facebook family is just sharing, and so Lisa, as I shared last time, you have a lot of people on that just hear you and are understanding dynamics that Aisha is sharing. So Ty says men are taught to be stoic because men are taught to be stoic because men are taught or encouraged to not show their emotions, which is unhealthy.
Right. Because it's been taught that it's a sign of weakness.
Right. D says, just wish men would work on being more vulnerable and show up in the process.
Right.
That's what you would share. And then we have Tracy. She shared, it is difficult to stay in the process when you get yourself to give a feeling to someone who is being injurious, someone you love and someone you don't want to injure. What's the skill to move forward?
Right. So let me give her a quick answer for that. So you have to be comfortable within your own self that you do what you do because God has put it in your heart to do it. Your actions cannot be dependent on somebody else. So I already know that if I share my feeling, that I already anticipate that person may or may not connect, join, share. They might even step on my feeling. So if I don't share my feeling because I think the person will step on it, then what I've done is that I put myself in a box. So my decision always is I'm going to show up as authentic as I can. I'm going to show up as real as I can. I'm going to show up as maskless as I can.
Right.
And then I'm going to let God deal with the rest. So if I share my feeling with you, and I'll keep going. And so if the person, let's say I share a feeling with somebody and I says, I really feel disrespected from that. And they say, wait, you don't deserve no respect. Let's say they come back like that, right?
Right.
Why you think you deserve respect? I would then I start using my skills. So I just shared my feeling with you, and it was very deep for me. And what you gave back to me showed me that you didn't believe that I should really be sharing what my feeling is. And the person says, well, I'm just telling you, you don't deserve respect. So you don't think I deserve respect. Okay, that's what your thought is. You don't think I deserve respect, but that doesn't change the fact that my feeling is that I feel disrespected. Right. I'm trying to find, do you believe there's a way that we can find a way that we can talk about this issue and find common ground in it? So again, I always say that relationship, you got to train yourself not to be so touchy and not always feel like you're going to get broken by every action that happens with people, because people are going to fail. People are going to do things that are wrong. People are going to do things that are going to cut you. And So, it's like war. And I'm not saying your relationship should be a war, but it has some elements of war in it. That means that you can't be frail and fragile if you want your relationship to be successful. You got to be willing to fight and do the work that's necessary in it. And again, but you got to do that fight in a loving way. You have to do it with skillfulness. And that's why you need to listen to the podcast, because it's going to help you learn those skills.
That's important, Al. I just kind of like stuck on that part that you shared from the war part. From this perspective, this is what I gathered from what you just said. And that is because there is a thing, be it in the individual or be it the other person, that's threatening the relationship.
Right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I am warring.
And it's not the person.
Right.
No, it's
exactly.
never.
You're not warring against the person.
Because we war not against flesh and blood.
Right.
But against principalities, powers, the spiritual wickedness in high places, the rulers of the darkness of this world. That is what we're fighting against.
Right.
So those things may have influenced the fact that I don't like confrontation.
Right.
So therefore I'm avoiding that. But no, my other half may be at war with that thing in me.
Right.
And so it's requiring us to, what, Al? Show up in love.
Show up. So we've been talking about this. We got a couple quick comments, and we're going to have to, because we're running out of our time here.
Okay. Dorothy shared, separation and divorce is mental before it's physical. The physical is usually the last stage of the destruction. His mind wasn't renewed about the relationship.
Right. Right. So look, we appreciate you going in. As you know, we've been talking about how men and women show up in relationships. Look, this is going to be very exciting. We've had Lisa on the line, and she has done an incredible job. She's been patient as we step through this. And now Lisa has both given her permission, and her husband has actually, I guess he's been part of our listening audience too. He's been checking us out and aware of what we're doing. Now he's saying he wants to be able to be part of that process. So I want to give him a lot of credit for just being willing to just show up, because as I told Lisa, I deal with people about what, their process and their issue. I don't let people spend a lot of time talking about what the other person should do or shouldn't do, because this is what's very important. We have to become experts at working on ourselves, not pointing out what other people need to work on.
Right.
And so if you find yourself talking and murmuring, complaining, gossiping, talking about what somebody else is doing or what somebody else should have did or how somebody else should do things, you are really missing the point. The point is that, and I know this is an old thing people used to say, when you point one finger, you got, three or four pointing back to you.
Right.
But that's so true. You have to be willing to be an expert at looking at your process, your intentions, your thoughts, your feelings, and analyzing your behavior. And as we talk about this, we're going to go around this awareness wheel. You're going to become an expert at being able to look at your actions and your behaviors, and you're going to trace them all the way back through your thoughts, through your feelings, back to your intentions, and back around to your behaviors again. And you will learn how to do that if you're willing to be an expert at your relationship, at looking at your process and how you do in your relationship, not what the other person does. So I'm telling you, we're going to be back. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have Lisa's husband. I don't know exactly when, but we're scheduling it. So you don't want to miss what we're doing here. Facebook Live every Tuesday evening. Greg, did you show your face at all? Did you? That's my co-host Greg Harris. My co-host Greg Harris. And so now I've been having my wife Aisha Laws to be with us as we deal with this, because I wanted to have both perspectives here. And trust me, I know I've been on the men pretty hard, but my wife has been giving the women some insight too, and she's gonna give them some more. I already know she's queued up. I can feel it. So next week you don't want to miss, because Aisha's gonna give it on both sides. She's gonna give the women's side, and we're gonna bring on Lisa's husband, and hopefully, look, maybe we can find a way for these two to find a way to reconcile. Maybe we can give them advice and direction so they too can show up for each other and they can change the dynamic of their relationship. We appreciate you being with us. We love you. Be with us. Remember, like us, share us. I want 50 shares. I want you to let people know, repost this. If this has been a blessing to you, show it. Tell people about it. Make sure you join us. Put it on your calendar. Put it in your phone. Put your reminder on your phone, 8:30 every Tuesday evening, and also Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. You can download the iHeartRadio app. And when you download the app, you just select gospel. And then look at all those hearts, Greg, all the hearts and the thumbs up. You can download the app, select gospel, and then Heaven 600. And we're on every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. And we will be back here again next week, Tuesday evening at 8:30. Don't miss it. It's going to be exciting. We love you guys. Be blessed.
Bye.